good, good. Here. Should I? Thank you.
One more round of applause for Sally. Thank you so much for starting our morning that way. Let's put this here. So many people in this room want to either already are entrepreneurs or are hoping to be entrepreneurs, and we have a great one who's going to give you a session that's called So You Want to Be an Entrepreneur. Farhad Mohit is the founder and CEO of Flipagram. You may have heard of it. It's one of the fastest growing apps. It actually reached 30 million active users faster than any other app when it was launched in 2013. And in the effort of not reading these formal bios as you have them in your apps, I wanted to share a funny story about Farhad, who one of his many talents turns out to be his ability to be scrappy in a situation. So when his second child was born, they were planning a home birth in December of 2013, around the most explosive time of growth for Flipagram. And he actually, because their midwife was stuck in LA traffic, which rivals on Tehran's traffic, he actually had to deliver the baby at home himself. So now, give it up for Farhad, who's going to talk about being an entrepreneur and being scrappy when you need to be. Thank you.
Salam Sabah Khair. Thank you for getting up early and coming to this session. It's really been a pleasure. Actually, first I should say it's tough to follow Jeff Skoll. He's a friend and good person doing good things on a world-class scale. This is not that kind of talk. This is more about sort of your bilang kolang type entrepreneurship. But it's such a pleasure being with all you entrepreneurs here. I usually have my head down with my bil or kolang and working away, and it's great to see people here. So you want to be an entrepreneur, and the first question to ask yourself is why? Why do you want to be an entrepreneur? Is it fame that's driving you? Is it fortune you're looking for? Is it passion, something that you need to get done? Or for me, desperation is also a thing. I was at Wharton School of Business studying and realizing that my options were in consulting or investment banking, the most common routes out of that school, and I was not thrilled about the possibility of either option, and they were not very thrilled with me either. So it was a mutual decision that we go a different direction. It doesn't matter really what motivates you to become an entrepreneur. That's your decision. It's you're starting something from scratch. The world is your oyster. It's your decision. What's important is whatever it is, desperate, fear of failure is a good one. It should be something that motivates you for a long time. Because I would say the first and most important rule of entrepreneurship is that it's going to take longer, with more effort, and more cost than you imagined. And so I would, based on my experience, set aside 10 years of your life if you want to get into this business and start something. And so what this is it's a liberating, it's a little daunting at first. 10 years is a long time, but it's also a little liberating because you're going to fail a lot early, and you might think to yourself, wait a minute, 10 years is an incredibly long time. We've heard stories. What about Snapchat? These guys were just in their college, Sunday, fraternity party, and then started this app, and later that week they were, Times Person of the Year and billionaires. What about that? Well, most of us are not Evan Spiegel and Vilo Kolang type. I actually Googled I said weird-looking lottery winners. This guy won the lottery. Okay, so you're probably not him, and you're probably not Evan Spiegel either. Let's focus on the type of entrepreneurship the type of work you need to do. And then, of course, if you win the lottery, we may be able to find you on the internet as well. God bless Google. So entrepreneurship at its core is 10 years of hard work. 10 years of hard work, but applied to what? It's applied to the right idea, in the right market, at the right time, and by the right team. So a lot of right things. And a little luck never hurt anybody. I have an expression for that, but it can be adabe, so I won't say it. I'll say it. Don't fuck with luck. Okay, yeah. It's true. So this is the only slide that has a page number. It's the only academic slide on this in this presentation. This is the kind of work I want to explicate it a little bit. It's actually quite important. The right idea. What does that mean? It should solve a real and frequent problem. Uber is the right idea. Taxi, it's a fantastic. Everybody needs it frequently. It should be able to gain traction quickly. You don't have an infinite amount of resources or time. It should catch a fire, preferably with virality or word of mouth, people telling other people, so you're not spending to get that traction. It should be defensible, so as it grows, the more it grows, the better it gets. So the more drivers for Uber, the more passengers can get to service, the more passengers, the more drivers, so the fight is on to get to that critical mass. It should be in the right market, your idea. What does that mean? Well, disrupting a large market like Uber is doing is a good idea, or being an early entrant into a new and growing market is also very good, but you have to time it, as you'll see, right, because new markets take time sometimes. And then this market should be accessible and addressable profitably. So you can, this is not a social entrepreneurship one, this is a profit entrepreneurship. You should be able to address this profitably at some point. It doesn't mean day one you have to be profitable, but you have to be able to have a path to monetization and profitability. And then it should be accessible, addressable by you. So if you have mastery in a field, that's a very good place to look for an entrepreneurial idea. Or if you have time, passion, desperation, driving you and enough for a long enough time in a new field, you might be able to develop mastery in that field. But it should be the right market for you. The right time, easier said than done, but really if you're too early, depending on how much patience and time you have and money you have, you probably won't be able to get enough traction regardless, and you'll fizzle and die. If you're too late and you have one of these great ideas that has a network effect, you're probably fighting someone else's network effect and tough times ahead. And maybe the most important point here is the right team. And when selecting a team, there's some things that I've learned are very important in my experience. Integrity and intelligence are two really important facets of a team. Integrity means you can trust this person to do the right thing, and similar thing to that what you would do. Makes it a lot easier because lots of unknowns, lots of things happen, investments come, decisions have to be made, companies have to be dissolved, etc. Integrity is quite important to be able to rely on your teammates. Intelligence, of course, is somewhat obvious, but because you're building something unknown, new, and there's lots of things happening in a very short period of time, a smarter person can figure things out faster than not as smart. Beyond that, I think you need complementary skills. People make, I think, a mistake sometimes. They go into business with their friends. Their friends tend to be like them. It's safe. It sounds like a good idea. I think pre-existing friendships are minus because one strains the other. The friendship strains the business decision strain the friendship. But complementary skills are incredibly important. So if you're very strong in tech, you need somebody who's good in sales to get out there and talk about it, and vice versa. It's hard to have all the skills as one person. And then maybe the most important aspect of a good team is some kind of delusional persistence, belief in this idea that you can do this, whatever it is, it doesn't matter, and that you're willing to work hard to do it. Somebody delusionally persistent out there? Good. Good. Okay, so if you have all of these things, it could get you on the right track. So why would I know anything about this? Right, well, my name is Farhad Mohit, and I'm a serial entrepreneur. I'm saying alcoholica. Some would say Ravani, because that means I've signed up for this multiple times, this journey, you know, and my wife would definitely say Ravani. So let's go a little bit into my background and see sort of examples of what I'm talking about here. So I started BizRate in 1996, right out of business school. And the BizRate is an e-commerce rating site, so one of the first on the web, helping people decide who is good and who's not by other people's ratings. So we were one of the first people to start the 5-star rating systems by people and things like that. BizRate grew incredibly fast. By 2000, we were a top 50 worldwide site, and it was an amazing run as e-commerce was becoming more and more of a thing. Then I launched something called Shopzilla. Shopzilla is a shopping search engine, took the BizRate ratings, combined it with prices, so you could see what to buy from where, both the quality and the price. And Shopzilla grew incredibly fast as well. It became one of the biggest shopping search engines in the world. By 2005, we were doing billions of dollars of gross merchandise sales a year, and making hundreds of millions of dollars of revenue, and tens of millions of dollars of profit. That we sold in 2005 for over $500 million, and I stayed on till around 2007. Then we have the story of Flipagram. Flipagram, we started in October of 2013, and within months, it had grown. It's an app for sharing slides, putting slideshow together, and music, making a little movie and sharing it. Within months, it had grown to 30 million users, fastest ever, faster than Facebook, Snapchat, anybody. And because it was so fast, I think it bears that portion. If you bear with me, it's a fun piece to talk about. Entrepreneurs, you'll note, like telling stories. And the story of Flipagram is an interesting one to talk about because of how unique it was. I met the guys, 3 guys working on Flipagram. They'd come to me for advice September 20th of 2013. And we met over sushi. They wanted advice as to what to do with this app. It had 150,000 users over a year and a half that it was in business. It was being sold for $1. And I took a look at it, and I was like, wow, this thing is incredible, but it needs some help. And my suggestion to them was, this is what you need to do. You need to fix the branding because it doesn't look right, not professional. You need to simplify the product. It had too many features for what it was trying to do. Make it as simple as possible. You need to make it free so that anybody can access it. $1 is a big barrier. You need to put a watermark on every creation that gets made. So it says Flipagram right on the thing, and as it gets shared on social media, everyone can see this, say, wow, I like this. And you're allowing people to put their music with their creations. That's great, but you should let them put any music in the world. Don't worry about the fact that you don't have license for it or anything else, because these are 30-second videos. The music companies should be happy to have their song under somebody's video and advertising for free for them. You should need to do these things. You need to do these things in the next few months, because this is not a very difficult technology to build, and if you don't do it, somebody else will. So you have 3 options. Your option number 1 is to quit your job and get on this thing immediately. That's what I would do if I were you guys. Option number 2 is just sit there and collect, your $100,000 more before somebody figures this out. And that's not a bad option. You have a job. Option 3, I am willing to bet myself on this idea. I'm willing to put everything else aside, buy this idea from you, have you guys join the team, and we go build this together, these exact steps that we're talking about. Of course, lucky for me, they took option 3, and October 1st, we had a deal. October 15th, they joined Flipagram, and we worked on all these changes that we needed to do very fast. November 18th, we launched Flipagram 2.0 for free into the App Store. That means we dropped out of the paid rankings and went into the free rankings. By November 26th, 6 days later, we were the #1 free app in the US. And before the end of, yeah, thank you. Yeah, before the end of the year, we were #1 in 87 countries around the world, #1 ahead of everyone, free app. And suddenly, these guys had said, what do you think will happen? I said, if we get growth, I think we can raise some money for this. So at the end of the year, they came to me and said, Farhad, so is this good? I'm like, what are you talking about? We're the #1 app across the whole world. And so the pressure was now on me to go raise money. Luckily, these investors are very smart. They were looking and seeing this ascent, and suddenly I was getting a solicitation. Here, this is Sir Michael Moritz, chairman of Sequoia, calling to say that Sequoia is very interested, and he personally wants to come to our office and meet. We didn't have an office, so he came to my house. He flew down to my house to meet and explain why we should take Sequoia money. This gentleman here is John Doerr. He's not a sir because he's American, but he's a chairman. He's a sir in Kleiner Perkins, one of the other top VCs in the Silicon Valley. And he also got on his plane and was nice enough to come to our house. So suddenly, I'm sitting eating ghormeh sabzi with these people. It's like it's surreal kind of situation they're telling me today. And yes, it wasn't a dream. It was real. It really happened. We raised $70 million by February 4th, and Flipagram was ostensibly born. And yeah, and in the middle of all this stuff, right in between there was when we had our baby, and this traffic midwife didn't show up, and I had to do it. So it was a very interesting fourth quarter to 2013, I tell you. Now, that's a fun story, but you say, well, what the hell are you talking about here? Your first idea was 4 years. Your second idea was 7 years. This idea was 5 months. What are you sitting here telling us how lucky you got, or what is it? What are you boasting about this stuff? How does this jibe with 10 years of hard work for success rule? Well, I think one of the things you'll note is entrepreneurs are good at telling stories, and they sort of emphasize some things, and they leave some things out. And I think, so before we get into that, I'll uncover the mystery for you. But one of the things we should discuss here, and this is sort of important, is vanity. Vanity is okay if you're Kim Kardashian or social media, you want to get likes. Vanity metrics are also okay, if you want to boast to your wife, honey, we're bigger than Facebook on the App Store, or you want to boast to other entrepreneurs. The only time Sir Michael Moritz and John Doerr have been on a board together, except for Flipagram, has been Google. Google it. It's good, but vanity metrics do not equal success. That is not what success in business is. What is success in business? Success in business is when you can pay your bills from the cash you generate in a sustainable way. That's one form of success. Even if you're social entrepreneurship, you have to pay your bills. You may not make a profit, but you have to pay the bills. Another form of success is when you have sold your business for more cash than you put into it by your investors. Those are two good definitions of success. So I want to explain it in terms that would be audience specific here. Vanity metrics do not manufacture good underwear for Fatih. واسه فاتی تنبون نمیشه. So let's with this newfound definition of success and our international symbol here, we can go and investigate my stories in a little bit closer here. BizRate, remember, grew incredibly fast to become the 50th biggest site in the world for ratings as in of all sites. ولی متاسفانه that does not make Fatih happy. So what did it do? It didn't make money. It really was a training ground, 4 years of time that allowed me to develop a mastery in e-commerce space. So by the end of this, I knew a lot about e-commerce, more than I would want to know about e-commerce, because remember, I'm not passionate about it. I'm desperate. But it was time. And so it allowed us to launch Shopzilla and really do extremely well, extremely fast with Shopzilla. And by 2005, generating tons of profit and real value. We sold it, and that is a success. Yes, great. What about Flipagram? Flipagram که اگه 5 ماه, what the heck is that? Incredible story I just told you. Well, the investigation of Flipagram starts with this conspicuous gap here. What was happening in this gap, So Farhad has sold his company for this much money, and there's a gap. What did you do, Farhad? What did you do? Did you travel the world? Did you find a beautiful girl? Did you get engaged? Did you, what did you do, in that, right after that? And the answer, of course, is yes, I did all of those things. And that was in the first 7 months of 2007. And then, so let's go closer here a little bit. We did all that stuff in 2007, and then I started a company called DotSpots. Maybe the best idea I think I ever had. The idea was to index all of the news, because we all know the news is full of propaganda, and connect all the paragraphs of nonsense that are related to each other, and allow anybody to add a dot. A dot is a distributed object of thought. Add it, and it would be added to all the other articles across the world. So in this way, one person with the truth can set everyone free. It was a great, ambitious idea. We pulled together a great team. Unfortunately, looking at the idea thing, it did not scale very fast. It needed a plugin to download, or sites needed to put it. It was in a dying industry. The newspaper industry is shrinking, not growing. It wasn't a growing market. Didn't work. So we spent a lot of time with a great talented team on this idea. By 2010, DotSpots had to pivot. It pivoted to something called Gripe. Gripe was supposed to be a social Better Business Bureau. So using the power of your social graph to get big companies to answer the call to your problem. You would put your gripe in, say what it would take to fix it. If it was a reasonable gripe and a reasonable request with your real name, it would spread like wildfire, and the companies would have to fix it, because then the gripe would turn into a cheer and everyone would be very happy. Good idea. Problem is, people don't complain enough when their actual name is attached to it, so far. We had to pivot to Cheers. Cheers was the opposite of Gripe. Thought if Gripe doesn't work, maybe Cheers will work. Cheers was supposed to show gratitude for something, and it was. So I should say, for Gripe, we learned about mobile, learned about social graph, building an application for mobile. With Cheers, it was photo sharing, but in a positive way. We could talk about narcissism and on social media and how it's all negative. Cheers was supposed to be a place where you cheers to what you love, and you get credit for being a wonderful person. That didn't work either. So middle of 2013, I was facing a growing number of questions. My wife saying, Farhad, our second child is on the way. I want to support you, but what am I supporting? What are these things, I didn't have a very good answer. My CFO was saying, Farhad, how much money do you want to put into these things? And so I went to the team. It was the answer of like, we're on the flat part of the exponential, and the growth, explosive growth is around the corner. Didn't really resonate with anyone. So we went to the team, said, look, this is a situation. Cheers is not scaling. It has a nice, loyal group of folks. We have money until February of 2014. We can do the following. We have 3 options. You can take the money and split it right now and go our separate ways. I have my baby coming. We can do that. Option 2 is we can change Cheers to be more of Cheers for business or something like that, so we can try to make money. Nobody really liked the idea of Cheers to McDonald's. It just wasn't really a fun, that wasn't what we got into it for. Or we can pivot to something, but I have no ideas. And this is where everybody decided to pivot, and our CTO, Brian, came to me and said, hey, you've been talking for many years now about an object in the middle of a social experience that can grow virally and power a social media app. What about talking to these guys from Flipagram? They're friends of my wife. Let's have sushi with them and see maybe this is the object. And so we did, and what they say, the rest is, as they say, history. But as you'll notice, there's 7 years here between that, and we made every right decision on Flipagram, not because I was just sitting there, traveling Ibiza and the world, and suddenly somebody came to me and this. We did it because the Bilo Kolang hard work of Dotspot, Scripe, and Cheers had taught me what are the things that don't work in this. And so when you have failures, please pay attention to that these are the learning experience that sets you up for the Flipagram. It was the flat part of an exponential curve. So great, success. Not quite. We remember this symbol, and I had to end with it because I'm so proud of it. We remember this symbol, Flipagram, the statistics I cited, fastest growing app of all time. It's true. John Doerr and Mike Moritz as investors. It's true. And 70 million in financing. It's true. These are not success metrics. These are not able to create a very good underwear for Fatima at all, and they don't equal success. In fact, the $70 million investment is quite a big expectation on the other side. So the jury's still out. We have about 1 year left on my 10-year plan here to still do something. 2017, we have to cross that threshold. So maybe by iBRIDGE 2017, I'll be able to report some real success metrics for you on this latest project. Thank you.